mean, fitness. How did that happen?
Oh my goodness. So I have been an athlete pretty much my whole life.
I can
I used to
tell.
play.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can tell.
Yeah, I used to play soccer, basketball, volleyball, water polo. I mean, I love it all.
Yeah.
I always joke and say I really don't follow sports teams because I can't sit there and watch a game on TV. I'd rather play it, you know.
Okay. Okay.
Um, but I struggled with my weight my whole life. I was never the skinny kid. I always got made fun of for being the chubby kid. Chubby kid became a chubby adult and then an obese adult. By the time I was 25, I was like 237 pounds.
Wow.
Um,
That's hard to believe.
yeah. And fast forward 3 years, I got married when I was 28. I'm not married anymore, but
Uh-huh.
I was diagnosed when I was 28 years old, about 8 months after getting married, with type 2 diabetes. My glucose was 572. I had no symptoms. I When I share my story, I always say it was a sinus infection that saved my life,
Okay.
because I was very, very close to being in a diabetic coma and I had no idea,
Oh,
you
really?
know?
Okay.
Yeah. So they put me on antibiotics for a sinus infection, which normally takes about 24, 48 hours, and I'm back to normal. I'm like ready to get out of the house and, get back to my schedule.
Yeah.
And I wasn't getting any better. And then 2 days after putting me on antibiotics, my left leg went completely numb.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't sleeping. I could fall asleep. I couldn't stay asleep. I was drinking water like crazy, and I knew that that was a symptom of diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
And so when my leg went numb, I was like, oh crap. I was like, and my ex-husband's sister is a nurse. So he called her. He was like, hey, he's like, what's this deal with her leg going numb? And she was like, have her go back to the doctor because I would almost guarantee that's diabetes. And sure it was. And sure
Oh,
enough, it was. Yeah.
yeah.
So I ended up in the hospital. When how they prick your finger and they check your glucose, and
Right.
she was like, Vanessa, she did it twice because she couldn't believe it. One was 400 and the other one was 401. And she was like, you're
Okay.
going to go get blood work right now. They called me within a couple of hours and told me that I needed to go to the hospital.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I was hospitalized for like 4 days because they couldn't get my glucose under 300. And so when I left the hospital, I was on 2 types of pills and 2 types of insulin.
Okay.
And so I'm Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
And it always frustrated me when my family, especially the females that have diabetes, they're like, oh, la diabetes, the diabetes. And it's like, oh, me tomo mi pastillita. And when you add an ITA or an ITO at the end of a word in Spanish, it's to make it little and cute.
Mm-hmm.
The little pill, pastillita, is the little pill, for the diabetes, which is no big deal. And I knew I didn't want to live my life like that. So
Yeah.
A lot of research later, I started learning what nutrition really meant, what it meant for me personally. And so a few years later, I got my first nutrition certification, because what I did was I became a vegetarian about 4 or 5 years after being diagnosed. I became a vegetarian, and that's how I reversed type 2 diabetes.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my brothers, under me, I have three brothers, and the one under me, yeah, he was a diabetic. Matter of fact, from a child all the
Yeah.
way, yeah, through adulthood, and I mean, it was just impacting him, and just yeah, just really, really impacted, over the
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, it takes a toll. That's why it frustrated me when, I was like, don't make it little. It's not cute. It's not little. It's actually a pretty big deal.
Yeah, right. It is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.